We are starting off day 2 of our election time information. Just a reminder, we are just doing general information about the elections. Yesterday we talked about who could become president. Today we're going to talk about what the president does. Again, I'm not looking for you guys to be showing any specific information on any of the candidates or any of the topics, like the things that they debate about, any of those. We're just learning about the election and the office in general, okay? Does anybody have anything they wanted to share from day 1? Did you have any conversations with your parents or anything about who can become president? No, nobody wants to share anything. All right. So day 2, we, like I said, we are going to talk about what does the president do? What are the roles of the president? So I'm going to read just this first part again, like I did yesterday. The president is the head of the executive branch of the United States government. There are 3 branches of our government. There's the executive, which is the president. There's the legislative, which includes like the Senate and the House of Representatives. And then there's the judicial, which is the Supreme Court. So the 3 different branches. And the nice part about our government is that there's a lot of checks and balances to make sure not one branch or one person has too much power. They can be overruled by one of those other branches. Even the president can be overruled by one of the other branches. So kind of a nice system of checks and balances in place. The U.S. Constitution describes the duties and responsibilities of the president. So Chief Executive, the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed and shall commission all the officers of the United States. And that's from the U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 3. So the president is often called the chief executive. Emily, you asked first, so go ahead and read us this first paragraph.
Okay. The president is the chief executive of the United States. This means he or she is responsible for making sure that the law of the United States are followed. The Constitution states that the state of the Union.
Hang on, I think you skipped a line. The Constitution states that.
The Constitution states that the president must give Congress a report of the State of Union. During this speech, the president gives his or her opinion about how the country is doing. He or she also suggests new laws and ideas to make the country better.
Okay, awesome. Miguel.
Okay. The president does not have the power to make laws. However, he or she can suggest laws to Congress when Congress passes a new law. The president can either sign the bill into law or veto the bill.
Yep.
When the president vetoes a bill, it does not become a law. The president also has the power to pardon people who have been convicted of crimes. This means the convicted criminal is released from punishment.
Good. So the president can't make laws. That's one thing that's really kind of important. They're not the one who actually makes the laws. They can suggest things that they would like to see made as laws, but the president doesn't actually make them. But they do have to either approve them or veto them. And if they veto it, it means it doesn't happen. It doesn't become a law. And then they can also let criminals who have been convicted, who are in prison, they can release them. Miguel, go ahead and read just this next little part too.
Okay. As chief
Executive.
executive, it is the president's job to appoint judges, ambassadors, Supreme Court justice, and the other important officials.
Good. Yep. And we have seen this recently in the news with the Supreme Court justices, with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and then the election of our new Supreme Court justice. And her name has just, Coney Bailey, I think, is her middle and last name. I can't think of her first name. Oh my goodness. I'll have to look that up. I just forgot what it was. So that's one part of his jobs. The commander-in-chief. The president shall be, so he's the chief executive. He is also the commander-in-chief, which means he's the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the United States. That's in the Constitution, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1. All right, let me get back up here, Morgan, and you will be reading the next paragraph.
As Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. military, the President is the leader of all branches of the armed forces. The President decides when to send troops into battle and when to activate the National Guard. However, the President does not have the power to declare war on another country. Only Congress has this power.
Good. So again, here's that balance. Here's a bit of the balance, those checks and balances. The president can say, I'm going to send troops into battle, but he cannot say, we are going to be at war with you. Only the Congress can do that. Okay, and the Congress is a larger group of people, so there has to be a lot of discussion and a lot of voting to figure out if we're going to go to war or not. Okay, so the president can send in troops or the National Guard, but he cannot declare war. He is the chief diplomat. The president shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. Concur means they agree. So he can decide to make treaties, but when they vote in the Senate, 2/3 of them, and there's 100 people in there, so about 66 of them have to agree with the treaty that the president is making. He doesn't get to just do it all on his own. Constitution, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2. All right, Landon.
Do I start with it is the president?
Yeah.
It is the president's job to set the United States foreign policy. This means the president decides what kind of relationship the U.S. will have with other nations. The president can make treaties with other countries. This means that he or she can make promises, deals, and agreements with other nations on behalf of the United States.
Good. So this one, he's got a lot of the power on his own, is how we deal with other countries, other nations. Okay. He can make treaties. He can make promises, deals, agreements, all on behalf of the United States. All right, Camden, tell us about the head of state.
Some of the duties of the president are not required by the Constitution. There are the jobs the president has as head of state. As head of state, the president acts as the symbolic representative of the nation. Some duties that the president takes on as head state include attending funerals for leaders of other countries, meeting with foreign officials, visiting areas affected by natural disasters, and presenting medals to war heroes. The president also throws out the first pitch at the baseball game, lights the White House Christmas tree and meets the Swiss champion sports team as a representative of the United States.
Good. Yeah, and so these are more kind of what we see the president doing as the public. We see him when he has meetings with foreign officials, with like the leaders of other countries. We see him presenting medals to different groups of people, or you know, out at public events. Well, normally not in our COVID time, not so much. But the Christmas tree lighting, they normally have a big like Easter egg hunt at the White House. So a lot of those public things are what we often see the president doing, the actions he's taking. All right, my favorite, let's hop on down to our infographic here. That's gonna take all of that information we just read about and show us in a little more of like an organized type of manner. So what does the president do? He can sign or veto a bill. Congress creates the laws for the United States by passing the bills. The president can sign a bill passed by Congress to make it a law, or he can veto a bill, which makes it hard for the bill to become a law. There is still a step where they can overturn his veto, but it's very difficult. The president is commander-in-chief. He's the head of the US military. He or she can authorize the use of troops overseas, so in other countries. This means he or she can decide when to send the US military into battle or help with other nations. He can propose a bill. If he has an idea for a new law, he can propose a bill to Congress. He can tell Congress about his idea and ask them to submit it for a vote. He can't make them, but he can ask them to. The president can make treaties. He can meet with the leaders of other nations to make treaties. A treaty is a legal agreement between two or more countries. It can be an agreement of peace, trade, or rules that the countries agree to follow. And the last thing is that he is head of state. He represents the United States, I should say he or she, represents the United States and speaks for the American people. They visit other countries and meet with their leaders. They attend conferences and official ceremonies throughout the world. All right, so what do you guys have to do today? Well, we're gonna fill in this graphic organizer. So you're gonna choose 3 of the different duties that they talked about for duties of the president. And again, coming back up here, these are all different duties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 different duties that you could choose between. And then you need to think of 3 examples of how the president does that duty. So for example, the president is the commander-in-chief of the military. So he can authorize the use of troops. What else can he do as the commander-in-chief? He can decide about sending US military into battle, right? So he, or I should say, the president can decide to send troops into battle. And then let's see, let me come back up here. Send the US military into battle, or he can decide to help other nations. The president can decide to help other nations. So you get to choose 2 more duties, one that you'll put here with your 3 examples of how the president does that, and one that you'll put here with the 3 examples of how he does it. So you might say he can, or he's the head of state. And as the head of state, he speaks for the American people. He visits other countries and he attends ceremonies. There's my 3 things that go with that. And then I need one other one, okay? And then the next slide is, and again, I want you to be detailed and thorough on these, like 3 to 5 sentences. Which duty of the president do you think is the most important, and explain why? So look back, all those different things the president can do, which one is the most important? And what other duty or duties do you think should be the president's? And you need to think of something. What else do you think the president could or should do? And explain why you think so. Okay? I'm going to be having you guys finish these slides up on your own today, okay? We're going to do these independently.